Fantastic. Okay, so today's webinar is all about the top Chinese social media platforms for online independent ESL teachers. So anyone who's teaching English online, or in fact teaching other subjects online and wants to find more students from Chinese social media, this is the webinar for you. We're going to be looking at a kind of introduction to the main platforms. If you're already using some of these platforms, I'm sure you'll learn some new things as well. And I really hope you find this helpful, particularly if you're just starting out or trying to figure out where to begin with all of these different Chinese social media platforms. Okay, gosh, my computer is slow today. Next slide. Okay, so as I was just saying, my name is Katie. I'm the director of Age Academy. I started online teaching actually in 2013, so quite some time ago, very on and off, part-time for most of that, but it was around 2 years when I was my full-time job. I'm also a qualified classroom teacher, so I taught in the UK and more recently in Japan. And I also lived, studied and taught in China before, so that's going to be quite relevant for today's webinar. And long list of qualifications, but I did a micro MBA from Shanghai Jiao Tong University just the other year, which covers a lot of things about like marketing, understanding Chinese customers, all that kind of stuff. So again, that links in very much to what we'll be learning about in today's webinar. And I also co-founded a Chinese online ESL startup company back in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. So I've experienced kind of from a larger company perspective of running a tutoring agency and promoting ourselves on Chinese social media for that. We actually had over 600 students join us even within the first year of that program. So hopefully some of the stuff I learned from that will be helpful for you guys as well. And as I was saying before, I'm currently a classroom ESL teacher here in Japan. I also teach online, and through Age Academy, we also sell curriculum and courses for online teachers, all kinds of stuff. So you might know me in various different guises from different Facebook groups or various online things. And I just want to remind you before we get started with the actual webinar itself, that you probably would have been sent a link to this, and some of you have already got this. But don't forget to download your free Chinese social media platforms guide. So everything we do in today's webinar and also lots of other additional information as well is also in this PDF guide. And it gives you an overview of the top 5 Chinese social media platforms, lots of in-depth statistics and information about each one, which is really helpful if you're trying to decide where to focus. Like depending on your niche, depending on what kind of students you're teaching, you want to pick a different platform, right? And there's some top tips and advice on what to post, how to post, what kind of things you can do on these social media platforms, and some useful links and things as well. Okay, next quick thing before we start. So I know there's a bit of a warm up for this webinar. Don't forget to also join our Chinese social media marketing Facebook group. If you're watching on Facebook, you're already in the group, so you're all doing great. That's fantastic. For those of you on Zoom, I'm also going to put that link in the chat as well. Feel free to join us if you haven't already. Some of you might find about this webinar through like the email list, for example. So you might not be in the Facebook group yet. So in our Facebook group, we're going to be having monthly boot camps and challenges. This month coming up, there's going to be one on WeChat marketing. So we'll be learning much more in depth in terms of like how to get started with WeChat marketing, connecting with your students, things you can do to attract more students through WeChat. That's going to be focused on this like later on this month. But also plans like future months going to be posting challenges, Xiaohongshu bootcamp. Might even do one from like Kuaishou or Weibo, or one of these other social media platforms as well. All that's going to be coming up once per month. There's going to be a new bootcamp or challenge to join. There's also regular webinars like this one, and also loads more on other topics coming up too. And there are video guides, lots of posts with top tips and tricks, and it's just generally a nice friendly place to ask questions. It is quite a new group, so it's just getting started. We've got about nearly 2,000 members now, which is really exciting. So if you're not in the group, do feel free to join. Okay, was that most of my marketing messages over? I think I had one more. Yeah, I did. I had one more. Okay. So last thing before we jump into the main webinar, if you are interested in really learning a lot more about your social media marketing and you don't want to wait for the bootcamp in a couple of months' time on whichever platform you're looking at, or you want to do a lot more in depth than what we're going to cover in the bootcamps, do feel free to check out these social media marketing courses. These are on the Age Academy website. So far we have one on WeChat marketing and one on Xiaohongshu marketing. They're like super in-depth, lots of recorded videos, lots of top tips and guides and downloadable things, lots of advice on that. So do feel free to check those out. They're currently priced at just £20 each. And if you use the discount code Facebook, it's half price. So that's like £10 a course, which is about $13 US. So super cheap. Please do feel free to check them out if you'd like to learn a lot more about those platforms. I'm gonna, again, put the link in the chat. Okay, so yeah, if you do want to find out more about some of these platforms that we're going to be talking about today, and you really want that step-by-step guidance, it's exactly how to set everything up, what to do, what kinds of things to post, exactly how to understand algorithms, all that kind of stuff is in these courses. So do feel free to check this out. That discount code gives you a massive 50% off. So yeah, I hope you find it helpful. Okay, let's jump into today's actual topic then. So thank you for listening to my big sales pitch. Today's webinar is all about Chinese social media marketing. And we're going to be particularly looking at the top platforms you can use for promoting your classes as an online ESL teacher, including WeChat and Xiaohongshu, some of those ones I already mentioned, and a few others you might not have heard of as well. So WeChat is definitely an absolutely essential platform if you're going to be teaching Chinese students. So it's a bit like WhatsApp. It's essentially a private messaging platform. So you can set up individual chats, you can have group chats, but there also are a few other features, lots of other features, in fact, like moments, which are kind of Instagram style posts, but it's in a chronological feed. Videos you can upload. There's even a video channels that's only available in certain countries, but video channels is a really great way for marketing if you do have access to it. If you're a company, you can create an official account and you can create mini apps, all kinds of stuff within WeChat. It's absolutely essential for day-to-day communication with your students because WeChat is used by over 80% of adults in China every day. So they've got 1.2 billion monthly users, which is like the vast majority of the Chinese population. And the average user spends 70 minutes a day on the app. That's over an hour every day just looking at WeChat, because you use it for messaging, but you also use it for all these other things like watching the news, booking train tickets, managing your online banking, playing games, listening to music. All of that can be done within the WeChat app. So it's a kind of massive all-inclusive app. If you're using WeChat for like as an online independent teacher, it's a little different to other social media platforms. As we said, it's similar to WhatsApp. So the way in which you can use it is different to how you might use something like Facebook. You can't do any what you might call viral marketing, or it's very difficult to, particularly if you're in a country like the US, the UK, most of Europe, which doesn't have access to WeChat channels. So if you're just using the messaging features, then it's more limited in terms of what we might call viral marketing, like reaching out to new people. But instead, what I'd really recommend focusing on with WeChat is referral marketing. So referral marketing is essentially building your network organically through recommendations. There's a variety of different ways you can do this. And there are actually videos in our Facebook group with lots of top tips and sort of more details on this. But it's things like simple refer a friend programs, refer a friend, get a free class, that kind of thing. You can also set up referral posters where they can send it to their friend and it gives their friend like a free class in return, and you track that referral using this poster or gift card system. You can create group chats and make a learning community group chat. I don't call it like Katie's students only group chat because they're not going to invite their friends then. Call it something like English reading club. And then you encourage students to invite their friends to join that group chat as well. And the next thing you know, it grows into a much larger group. And with a much larger group, it's bringing in new people who might then want classes. And also things like posting on WeChat moments, lots of valuable and useful content, which then might get reshared. Make sure, by the way, if you're doing that, posting on WeChat moments, you put your WeChat QR code on everything you share. That way, if people reshare it, they can link back to you. But yeah, there's loads of strategies you can use on WeChat that is essentially referral marketing. I'm not going to go too much details the process of that today, but I would really recommend if you are in the Facebook group, go to the guide section of the Facebook group, and there's a video there called something like WeChat marketing guide or something. It's like a mega long video, about like 15 minutes long or something. And I go way in depth into all the different strategies that I've used myself on WeChat and that my company has used on WeChat to attract lots of students. But yes, even if you're not focusing on WeChat for marketing, you still want to have it as a communication platform, because all of the other Chinese social media we're going to be talking about today, you're going to then direct those people to contact you on WeChat for your day-to-day communications, for organizing the classes, all of that, because WeChat is so universally used. It replaces email, replaces texting, like it's the main method of day-to-day communication. Next platform I have a quick look at is called Weibo. Weibo is often referred to as Chinese Twitter. It's not really like Twitter, but way back it started like Twitter. So they call themselves a micro-blogging app because it's about posting short, very short blog posts, was the original concept. They have over 500 million monthly users, which is like a very large proportion of people in China. And it's particularly popular, if you look at the age distribution here, it's particularly popular with people aged between 25 up to 35. This is a really good age range to be looking at if you're either targeting sort of young to mid-career professionals, and you're like doing business English, for example, or if you're targeting young kids, because parents in this kind of age range will also have children who are like kindergarten to elementary school kind of age, who might be interested in classes as well. So looking at this age distribution, you can see that it's kind of quite skewed towards the middle. The kind of middle of age ranges is on Weibo. But something that's interesting on Weibo is that people don't go there specifically for education. Weibo is used almost exclusively for news. So it's about following official like news updates, celebrity gossip, brand updates. People often follow their like particular celebrities or that they want to receive updates on, and it's about the news essentially. So it's a little bit more different in terms of your marketing strategy, because you'll want to be trying to jump on some of the trending hashtags and things that come up with popular news stories. And you maybe would like to give your own interpretation of those news stories in kind of a way that's relevant to your teaching. So maybe a news story has come up about online education. That'd be a really great one to comment on and post your own updates about. You can post things that are sort of valuable in education, but people tend to go on Weibo to look for your opinions on the news. And they're talking about topical issues, for example. So one thing that I have seen work quite well is a teacher who had an account about international news. So it's also quite difficult to access the international news in China, partly due to the firewall, all those kind of restrictions they have there. But essentially, this teacher was posting updates every day. It was essentially a screenshot of a news article in English, and then they just highlighted certain keywords that people might want to learn, and they sort of translated those keywords. So it's an opportunity for people who wanted to learn English in the context of the news to pick up some keywords and understand the news article. And they would write their own comment and sort of interpretation or their own thoughts on this particular news story. And then the kind of call to action of the post was to ask people to comment with their own ideas or their own feedback or thoughts on this topic, encouraging people to write in English as a way of building that relationship as well. So that is something that works very well on Weibo. It's very news focused. Next platform I want to quickly introduce to you is two platforms, Douyin and Kuaishou. These are essentially like TikTok. So I've grouped them together as an example of TikTok style platforms. So Weibo was like Twitter, WeChat was a bit like WhatsApp, Douyin and Kuaishou are like TikTok. Douyin and TikTok are actually owned by the same company, ByteDance. And Douyin is the Chinese version, TikTok is the international version. So the interfaces are kind of the same. Kuaishou is just another Chinese company that does something very similar. I'm just doing a very quick comparison of the two, but first thing I want to point out to you is that Douyin at the moment does not accept international users. You cannot register a new account, or if you can register an account, you can't post anything until you verify your ID with a Chinese ID card. I'm hoping that is lifted soon. Last year, this wasn't the case. This restriction came into play about half a year ago. So I previously had a Douyin account, had lots of followers. It was all great. I love my Douyin account. And then they wouldn't let me post anymore. So at the moment, Douyin is not an option for online ESL teachers, which is why I've also included Kuaishou on this slide as a comparison, because Douyin you might have heard of, Kuaishou you probably haven't. But they're both essentially the same idea. They're TikTok style platforms. So this is all about short video content. Douyin is more popular in what are called first tier cities. First tier cities are the big, more like financial centers, more internationally minded cities in China. So Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, these are the four main first tier cities. There's also something called the new first tier, which are the cities that are more up and coming that they're now calling first tier. But yeah, so Douyin is popular with those first tier cities. These are people who've got higher spending power, but they tend to be money rich and time poor. And we'll come to that with some of the other platforms later as well. This means they are willing to spend good money on classes, which is great to know, but they want high value, specific like niche classes that is going to help them and their specific challenge that they're facing with their English learning. So that's something to really bear in mind, particularly on Douyin and on other platforms that have a similar kind of market. The majority of users on Douyin are aged 19 to 35, so it's quite a young platform. And so this is good if you're targeting young professionals, university students in particular. It's huge with university students. And also teenagers are starting to get on Douyin. But remember that teenagers often it's still their parents who are buying the classes. So it still might not be the best place to advertise. Okay, and something's really big in terms of the algorithm on Douyin. The algorithm on Douyin really pushes things that go viral. Essentially, something you post on Douyin either goes viral and gets millions of views, or it just dies with like 10 views. So the algorithm very much amplifies viral content. So you want to be making videos that are really on top of the local trends. You're going to be using like trending music or trending audios. You want to be looking into the trending hashtags. and you really want to be getting your content out there as much as possible. It's very much a viral kind of platform. And Douyin is mostly focused on short videos. If you're familiar with TikTok, it's the same concept. Okay, Kuaishou looks similar. And you even look, if you download the two apps, the interfaces also look very suspiciously similar. And it's the same vague idea, but Kuaishou is more popular in 2nd to 3rd tier cities. So these are slightly lower income, but still have very strong spending power. We're not talking about like countryside, we're talking about people who still live in a big city, but they're more up and coming cities. The good thing about this also is that these cities tend to have less access to international education within the city itself. They have less in-person English learning opportunities. If you're living in Shanghai or a big 1st tier city like that, there are so many English schools with English speakers that people can go to. That's why would they take an online class? There's sometimes that kind of question comes up. Whereas you look at Kuaishou, people tend to be in cities where they have less access to in-person English classes. So online learning is a really big thing. Actually, a lot of the Chinese the Chinese ESL companies like VIP Kid, I talked with Powerfish before, Dada ABC, Wales English, all of those companies, a lot of them were focusing on these 2nd and 3rd tier cities for that reason. Majority users on Kuaishou are aged 19 to 24, so very young. It's very much a university students platform. And one thing that's really nice about the algorithm on Kuaishou is it's less focused on stuff going viral. You don't have to be as good, essentially, at getting your content out there. The algorithm does support small scale users a lot more. So you don't need to be really on top of all of the local trends. One thing that's interesting, there's a bit more of a focus on live streaming. Now I'm going to point out right now, live streaming is currently not available for international users on Kuaishou. You can only post short videos like Douyin style. But do be aware that a lot of people on Kuaishou are posting live streams. So you can join in the live stream, you just can't host the live stream yourself. But there is a lot of live streaming on Kuaishou. Okay, seeing a few messages in the chat. Thanks for all of your suggestions. Stuart saying Kuaishou sounds ideal for IELTS. Definitely. Kuaishou is a fantastic place for IELTS because a lot of university students are looking to study abroad for like their master's degree or PhD or whatever. And they need to pass the IELTS exam if they want to come study in the UK or the US or many other countries as well. So it's a fantastic place for IELTS preparation in particular, definitely. Okay, so that was the TikTok style platforms. Hang on, I think someone is still unmuted. I'm just going to quickly mute everyone. There we go. The next platform I want to talk to you about is Bilibili, which I always think is a very funny sounding name. But Bilibili is essentially Chinese YouTube, if you want to have a comparison. It's a bit like YouTube. It's a video app. It has over 270 million monthly users, which is pretty big. And 86% of those users are aged under 35. So again, it's still quite a young platform. The main focus on Bilibili is entertaining video content. People go there to be entertained. So particularly gaming, anime, music, vlogs, even TV shows and episodes you can find on Bilibili. So it's more of an entertainment place. So when it comes to your marketing, focus on content that is interesting and entertaining. So for example, you might want to do a vlog talking about your life in New York or something, and you can talk about visiting a cafe in New York and make it kind of interesting and fun for people to watch. People want stuff that is interesting. They don't necessarily want really strong educational content on Bilibili. And one thing I'd really emphasize, the main method of engagement on Bilibili is something called bullet comments. These like fly across the screen on the video. You know, if anyone's watched like an Instagram live, on Instagram live, when people like comment on the live stream, it like appears on the video itself, like in real time. On Bilibili, it does that on the videos, even though it's not a live video, it appears at the point in the video at which that person commented. So you get a lot more of this feeling of it being live, even though it's not live, which is really great for engagement. So if you're posting things on Bilibili, ask questions and get people to comment and write stuff. Like say at the beginning, you know, like at the beginning of the webinar, I said, oh, introduce yourself, what's your name, where are you from, tell us a bit about you. Say that at the beginning of your Bilibili video, because although it's not actually live, it's treated in some ways more similar to a live stream. So get people to comment, and that's going to be really important for the algorithm, because the more of these comments and the more engagement you get on your videos really pushes it out there. Another thing I'll say about Bilibili and the algorithm, it really doesn't matter about the whole going viral thing. Stuff on Bilibili doesn't really get pushed in the same way. It's more like YouTube, which works like a, what's the word? Search engine. That's what I was looking for, search engine. So it's all about putting in the right keywords. and including lots of detailed information and stuff that people are going to be searching for. So think about questions that people have and maybe make videos that answer those questions, or think about stuff that they are interested in more broadly. So for example, someone mentioned about IELTS, and maybe if we talk about the example of Chinese students who want to study abroad for their master's degree, you could have an interesting video, maybe interviewing Chinese students at a local university talking about their experiences, or you could do a video that is, I don't know, a campus tour or something, and get people to comment during the video, like ask questions, or get them to write comments throughout the video as you go. And also in the description, make sure you have lots and lots of detail with all those keywords, because that's going to be really big at getting your video out there. Another thing that's useful on Bilibili, even if you're not using it as a core focus of your marketing, you might still want to create a Bilibili account just as somewhere to host videos that are accessible within China. So you know, sometimes you'll make a long video and it's too long to post on like WeChat or one of the other platforms. Or it might be like an example class. If anyone does like a demo class and you want to send an example video of one of your classes to your students, and it might be like a half-hour long class, which is really long. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this, by the way, but maybe you have a really long video you want to send. Upload it to Bilibili and then you just send the link. It's like how you might upload something to YouTube and send the link. So it becomes a lot easier to sort of send it to lots of people, like from one simple link. So the Bilibili is like your YouTube equivalent, essentially. There's also another app called Youku, which is also often called the YouTube equivalent of China. Youku is more focused on professionally made video content. So TV shows and things like that, or music videos and stuff tends to be more on Youku. Bilibili tends to be more like user-generated content. So it's more of the vlogs and the like people's gaming videos and that kind of stuff. So it's more of a place for individual people to post. Okay, the last platform I want to talk to you about before we jump into the next part is Xiaohongshu, or Little Red Book, also known just as Red. Their sort of international branding tends to just call themselves Red, but it's really hard to search for online. So if you want to look up information, it's Xiaohongshu with the full name, or just Little Red Book is the literal translation of the name. This is similar-ish to Instagram, if you want a comparison. This is Chinese Instagram. There are quite a few differences, but the broad concept is the same. So it's a visual microblogging platform, and it also has a really strong what's called a social e-commerce element. We don't really see social e-commerce outside of China, so you might not really be familiar with this, but essentially it's a platform where, you know, on Amazon, you write a review, right? You buy something, you write a little review of it, and then no one looks at it because it's like buried at the bottom of the information about that product, okay? Xiaohongshu is like approaching it the other way around. They want people to post content, whether that's videos or images about stuff they bought, and they can directly link that to products on their own e-commerce store, and they can actually earn commission and stuff from that if they're like they have a whole e-commerce platform that's linked into this. So that's how they originally started out, was actually about making essentially little mini blog posts or like Instagram style posts about particularly things like fashion, stuff they bought, and then linking through to those products, and they'd earn commission when their friends bought stuff. So it's always had sales as a really strong focus. Now, as an international user on Xiaohongshu, you can't access the e-commerce features. You can't sell stuff on, well, you can if you have a registered business that has a large business. It's very complicated, so don't worry about that. But you can't get like affiliate commission for referring people to buy stuff on Xiaohongshu. That's not really accessible to international users. But still, it's important to know this aspect of the platform, because people are going to Xiaohongshu with the mindset they want to buy stuff. So it's a really great place to advertise your business, because people are going there with money to spend. So yeah, that's really important to be aware of. It has over 100 million monthly users, and the vast majority of users are female and aged 19 to 35 in tier 1 cities. I'm going to show you some of the stats on the next slide. But this is a really strong market, particularly if you're teaching kids or if you're teaching those like young professionals. There are various different kinds of posts that you can make, particularly video posts. Video posts do better than any other kind of post type, by the way. They get, on average, I think 2.4 times more views, according to the Xiaohongshu data on this. They are pushing video in particular. You can also upload images, carousels, and you can do stories. They're called hey posts on Xiaohongshu, but they're like Instagram stories. Sorry. So there's different formats of posts, but it is very similar in that sense to Instagram in terms of the types of posts that you can post. There are some really big categories that are trending on Xiaohongshu at the moment, particularly health and beauty, travel, but also education and things like parenting. So they originally started out very much focusing on like the fashion industry, but it's very much broadened then into other areas. So education is a very up and becoming kind of trend on Xiaohongshu. And what I'd really recommend if you're posting on Xiaohongshu is to focus on valuable educational content. So you want people to follow you. Okay? You don't want people aren't going to buy stuff straight away. You want to build up the relationship. You want to add value. You want people to then follow you, and they keep watching your posts and engaging your posts because they're useful and they're learning something new from them. And then over time, you can then sell them your classes. Now, they are a little bit more strict on Xiaohongshu about sales posts. So you can't directly promote commercial products unless you're registered business going through their e-commerce platform. As we said, it's not really available to international users. But what you can do instead is post valuable, interesting, engaging, useful content, and people reach out to you. Like every time I post something new on Xiaohongshu, I'll get several people messaging me say, oh, do you offer online classes? Like even if my post does not directly mention my classes at all, they'll still reach out to me and ask, do you offer classes? How much are your classes? What's your schedule? Can I book a class? So there's a lot of people, as I say, they go to Xiaohongshu with the mindset that they want to buy, which is always great for us. And the next page has some of those statistics, just really emphasizing to you the kind of people you'll reach on Xiaohongshu. Now, I know a lot of, actually, this is quite useful though. Please do comment in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on Facebook. What is your niche? Like who do you tend to teach? Who are your students? Because this actually could be very relevant for you. But if we look at Xiaohongshu in particular, 89% of users on Xiaohongshu are female, which is massive. As I was saying before, they started out as a kind of fashion-focused platform. So I guess they focused particularly on reaching female users, bringing them to Xiaohongshu when they first started out. And that's still a really big focus now. That's great because often it's the mother who's making decisions about their child's education. Not all the time, I don't want to stereotype too much, but quite often it's the mother who's making that decision. So if you're teaching kids, this is a great platform to be on. You also see the same if you look at the age distribution. There's quite a big focus in the age distribution of women aged 18 to 24 and also 25 to 34. So this is the age range that's either university students or they're young professionals or like young mothers. So if you're teaching, say, phonics classes for young kids, definitely Xiaohongshu is the platform to be on for those kinds of classes. If we look at the city type, almost all of the users, like over 50% of users, are in those tier 1 cities. Those are the high income, money rich, but time poor kind of customers. So I mentioned this before, and it's definitely the case for Xiaohongshu as well. You really want to make sure that you have a very clear niche. You really focus and narrow down who your market is, and you're offering a lot of value for that specific market. They don't want general English classes because if in a tier 1 city, there are plenty of local companies offering general English classes for kids, but they're looking for really niche specialist classes. So for example, the classes I offer tend to be science classes, and I offer debating classes because these are things that are harder to come by in person, even if you're in a big city like Shanghai. And they offer a lot more value for the student because it's outside of what the big mass market companies like VIP Kid or whatever they used to offer. Because those companies are either still open, like Powerfish is still running. There are companies like Cambly that are outside of China that still run, right? So if you're trying to target mass market English learning, you are placing yourself in competition with those kind of platforms. And users on Xiaohongshu, and it's the same for actually a lot of the other platforms we talked about, they're not necessarily interested in mass market general English learning. They want much more specific because they are in these tier 1 cities. They have plenty of money, they can pay for the classes, but they're lacking in time. The kids have got so many things they want to do with their time. They need something that's high value and really niche and focused on stuff they need to work on. So I really recommend thinking about that when you're advertising on Xiaohongshu. Once you've picked your niche, post things that are valuable and specific to that niche. So for example, I recently posted a post on the 3 recommended websites for science reading material in English. And it was like a magazine, an online magazine. There was like National Geographic, and there's another website I've forgotten. I think it was about news or something, science news. So this is like a very valuable post for people to go find that content and help their child learn scientific English in their own time. And I had like loads of likes and clicks are like saves on Xiaohongshu. So I had, I think, 160 likes and more than double that, 300 and something clicks, just on that one post. And over 12 people already since the other week have reached out and asked about classes just based on that one post. So yeah, valuable niche content does well on Xiaohongshu. Okay, so that was a quick introduction to 6 different social media platforms. And we have time for more questions, by the way, if people want to unmute themselves and ask questions very soon. But I just want to kind of map out what these look at on, I call this like a map, showing you the personal connection aspect and the viral potential. So when you are marketing, you want to reach lots of people. So that's the viral potential, the y-axis. But you also want to build more close relationships, because most of the people in this chat, in this call, are individual teachers. So you want to build that individual relationship with your potential students and use that to kind of draw them in and invite them to take classes with you. So if I was to kind of map out these platforms, we look at WeChat, for example, to start with. WeChat has very little viral potential, particularly if you're an overseas user, because you can't access, in most places, you can't access WeChat channels, which is the only kind. You can post videos on WeChat channels that can be then shared more widely, and they get recommended by the platform. So that has more viral potential. But as an international user, WeChat has very little viral potential, but it's all about the personal connection, because it's direct messaging. It's, like we said, a bit like WhatsApp. So this is one you definitely want to have, but you can't have WeChat on its own, because WeChat on its own is not going to help you reach loads of new students. It's going to be very difficult to reach lots of new students unless you already have a strong student base and you can grow through referral marketing. But it is 100% essential as your main method of communication once you've got that new lead. The other platform we talk quite a bit about today is Xiaohongshu. And Xiaohongshu has a lot more viral potential. The algorithm very much promotes and recommends your content to new people. But it also has quite a lot of personal connection as well, because people go to Xiaohongshu to know about you and your own insights and your own perspectives on various things. They don't go there to follow companies or to look at official updates. It's very much like a microblogging, connecting with individual people kind of platform. This is why it's such a powerful place to be advertising your classes, because you can build those personal relationships, but you can also reach a lot more people. So it's a really good place to be advertising. Okay, I'm going to take Bilibili and Kuaishou together. They have a lot of viral potential. The algorithms very much sort of amplify viral content, particularly Douyin, and Kuaishou is sort of up there as well. But they have less personal connection, I would say. They're still getting to know you as an individual, but the way that the algorithm and things work, you get more people sort of randomly seeing your videos rather than them following you and keeping connected and seeing all of the things that you post. So often people just see one of your videos. Even if they follow you, they're not going to see any more videos for ages unless the algorithm decides to show them stuff. The algorithms on Kuaishou and Douyin are more trying to recommend new stuff all the time to people, based on what's popular, what's viral, rather than building those personal relationships. Okay, let's have a look at Weibo. Weibo was the one we said was a bit like Twitter. This one has pretty good viral potential, but very little personal connection, because it's a bit like Twitter. It's people commenting on news stories, official updates. It's okay if you're like a celebrity and you want to communicate with a lot of people more widely, but you can't really get to know people individually on Weibo. So I would say it's got a fair bit of viral potential, maybe not quite as much as the others actually, but it has very little personal connection. I would say that Weibo is quite a niche place for advertising. It's particularly good if you're targeting business learners, so business English, particularly like mid-career kind of professionals or even early career professionals, and you're offering business English lessons because the age ranges that are popular and the fact that it's very much focused on news and factual content. Okay, then let's look at Bilibili. The algorithm Bilibili is a bit weak, to be honest. I don't think it really pushes your content that much. And it doesn't necessarily have that much personal connection either, because it's just like a video hosting kind of place. It's a little bit better than Weibo, but not much. So I'm going to put it here. So this, I think, gives you a very quick overview of the main social media platforms. And the reason I want to show you this is to emphasize that in many cases, I would recommend Xiaohongshu as a good place to advertise, because it has a lot of viral potential, but you can still build that personal connection. And you definitely still need WeChat as your follow-on platform for messaging people. These other ones are more for specific niches. I think Kuaishou is particularly good. We talked about like university students, for example, targeting that specific age range. Weibo is good for the business professionals. Bilibili, I personally feel like it's best just as a video hosting platform. It does have potential to reach new people, but it's a bit more limited. So I hope you find that useful as a way of mapping out the ideas. Really, a lot of us are familiar with the basic concept of social media, right? Many people have got Facebook, or you've got Instagram, or you've got some social media platform of some kind, and you'll post some updates like pictures of your holidays, whatever. So you understand the basics of how social media works. But the key challenge from a business perspective is how to use social media to actually drive people into paying customers. We don't actually want to reach lots of people. We want to reach a really niche focused audience of people who are going to want to buy our classes. So I've kind of listed up here some of the key social media platforms we talked about already. These are the ones that we called more viral platforms. Particularly Xiaohongshu, I do really recommend. It's my favorite one by far. Kuaishou, Weibo, Bilibili. These are your opportunities to reach a wider audience. They don't necessarily have such a good personal connection, but you can reach a lot of people. So on these platforms, you want to first start by attracting your audience. So these are what we call value posts. So a value post is something that's useful and valuable for your audience, like a top tips video, or recommended resources, or worksheets, or let's say you're teaching phonics. You could do a video introducing a new phonics sound and how you represent it. Or you could do a short story reading video if you're targeting young learners, like reading classes. If it's IELTS, you could do a video on one specific aspect of the IELTS exam, like working through an example question. So these are valuable, useful posts that answer things that people are searching for. A lot of these platforms, Bilibili and Xiaohongshu in particular, are very search driven. So you want to be posting stuff that people are going to be actively searching for, using lots of keywords, because that's going to help you show up and be recommended to new people. Weibo is more focused on like trending hashtags, trending news. Kuaishou is a bit random if you ask me, but it's more focused on very much the algorithm on what people are watching, and recommending more stuff that's similar to what they're watching. So that more entertaining posts, I'll say, would do well there. So you want valuable or interesting, engaging posts are going to attract people to check you out, check out your specific profile. You're also going to want to have what we call inspiration posts. So inspiration posts is thinking about your audience's long-term goals. I also think is the easiest example to give for this. Someone who's doing the IELTS exam, they don't actually just care about the IELTS exam. No one's doing the IELTS exam for the fun of it. They're doing it because they want to go study in the US. So an inspiration post, we'll be talking about, say, the top 5 universities in the US that you can get into with a 6.5 score in IELTS. Because some of the universities are requiring higher scores nowadays. A few of them are letting people in with lower scores. So you're going to do inspiration posts. Keep working at those IELTS exams. I know you're only getting a 5.5 at the moment, but if you push it a little bit more, this is where you could get to. These kind of posts. Or even success stories. So a success story, I would think of like if you've got a current student who's doing really well. Again, let's look at the IELTS exam. One of your students just got an 8.0 score. Wow, that is amazing. They did fantastic. Post about it. Tell your audience, look how amazing this student did. If you can, get that student to do a little short video for you, giving their own top tips on how they managed to get such a good score, hopefully mentioning how amazing your teaching is at the same time. This is all great inspirational content that, again, is going to attract people to want to follow you, and it's starting to build up a bit more relationship and inspiring them to take a bit more action towards their final goal. The action you want them to take, of course, being to buy classes from you. Now, these first two are getting to follow you in the first place. Now they're already following you. This, by the way, is what we call a funnel. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. The idea of a funnel. You track lots of people, and then you actually narrow it down to the ones who actually buy stuff. You're guiding them through this process. So you've attracted them, you've inspired them to take action. The next thing you want to do is engage with them and start to build up that personal relationship. Because they might be inspired, okay, yes, I really need to work towards my IELTS exam. Great, I'm inspired. But I could just buy that textbook or that other teacher over there, right? You want to give them a bit more of that personal connection. So they want to take classes with you to do well in the IELTS exam. So these are more like personal posts. They can be valuable posts, but talking about more about you personally. So sometimes you might be someone who took the IELTS exam yourself, and you could talk about your own experiences. This could be a great example of a personal but still valuable post. Also what I call authentic engagement. So asking questions in your videos and then answering them, like engaging with people in the comments, and messaging with people. This is starting to build up more of that personal relationship. You can also share posts a bit more about your own personal life, your own insights into different things. Ideally still relevant to your niche. Don't just post random pictures of what you did, like a picture of your cat. It's not going to be that relevant for most online ESL classes. But yeah, post things that are a little bit more personal to get to know you as an individual. Okay, next, so you've attracted them, you've inspired them to take action, they decide they really love you as a specific teacher. Next thing you want to do is convert them into what I call an actual lead. So you need what we call, so CTA is call to action. It's telling them what you want them to do. like send me a message to get my free ebook with practice IELTS exam papers, or send me a message to get my free phonics learning video to play, like do with your kids, that kind of thing. So we call this a lead magnet, something that attracts them to directly contact you and brings them onto WeChat. So we said these first 4 platforms, these are your viral platforms for attracting your audience in the first place and starting to build that relationship. But as soon as possible, we want to move them from those platforms onto WeChat, because WeChat, you can directly communicate with them. Every time you send them a message, they're going to get a notification. You can ask them more personal questions and like get to know them more individually, because it's a private messaging platform. So you want to try and get them onto your WeChat. It's a bit like how in this webinar, I said, don't forget to download your free social media, like Chinese social media marketing guide by signing up to my email list, because then I've got your email address, so I can send you more stuff like the next webinar. So please do stay subscribed and get those later updates. But so this lead magnet, something that attracts your audience to then get onto your messaging system, which in this case for China, it's got to be WeChat. Now, I know someone mentioned, I think it's in the Facebook group, someone mentioned DingTalk. There are a few alternatives to WeChat if you're having issues with WeChat. I'm going to mention those very quickly now. One is called QQ, like just the letter Q twice, QQ. It's actually owned by the same company as WeChat. It's like the app they designed before WeChat. QQ is just like an old version of WeChat. It just does basic messaging. A lot of older people still use QQ. And a lot of people, because QQ gave you like an email address as well with your account or something. So people still have QQ even if they mostly use WeChat. So this is an alternative if you're really struggling with the WeChat verification. Oh, I was going to say, by the way, anyone who's got WeChat, please check out our WeChat verification thread in the Facebook group and like help someone out and verify their WeChat account, please, because people are always trying to get their WeChat account verified. I know it's really difficult to do. So if you want your WeChat account verified, please go to our WeChat verification thread in the Facebook group. And if you already have WeChat, please take 5 minutes at the end of this webinar to go check out that thread and help someone out. I'm sure we'd all really appreciate that. But yeah, if you're having issues verifying WeChat, QQ is another option. And someone mentioned DingTalk, which is kind of a teaching platform. It's a bit like, in some ways, it's a bit like ClassIn, if anyone uses ClassIn, but DingTalk is like a more cut down, like a lighter version of ClassIn in many ways. It's also free, which is quite nice. But it's got a whole messaging system built into it. DingTalk is a business platform, so a lot of Chinese people use DingTalk for business. They might still have the app. So if you're having issues with WeChat, QQ is the one I'd recommend mostly, and DingTalk is another backup option if you're using it for your teaching platform anyway. Potentially also ClassIn. The trouble with ClassIn is that people don't get notifications from it, so they're not going to see your messages. Okay, so we've brought them now onto WeChat. What do we do next? Now we need to sell. So this is when you're offering maybe trial classes. You might do what's called a success call. This is not an actual class, but it's an opportunity to talk to them about where they're struggling with their English, what their long-term goals are, how you can help them achieve those goals. It's like a sales call. And you might also want to offer like discounts or deals, perhaps. Personally, I avoid this because I don't know, I don't like discounting things. Like, I know my worth. Thank you very much. You can pay me my full price. But some teachers would like to offer a discount or something at this stage to attract that new customer to actually buy their first class package. So yeah, next thing you need to sell. And then the great thing I've added at the end of our funnel is like the funnel going back out again. So this is representing the idea that your current students can then start to bring in more students. So you need to retain your students, and then you want them to recommend you. So retaining is all about just being a good teacher, right? Quality teaching, keeping that personal connection with them. Even if they're taking a short break from classes, keeping in touch with them, asking how their holiday's doing, that kind of thing. So keeping that relationship. And then recommendations, you can do refer a friend offers, you can offer gift cards, things like testimonials in a way is getting them to refer a friend, because you post that testimonial on a lot of platforms like Xiaohongshu, you can tag them and then it will share it to their friends and stuff as well. So this is all ways of then bringing in even more customers who then go back at the top of your funnel. In fact, they're a little bit more accelerated down and they're being recommended by a friend, they're already like more connected. And that results in even more customers. Sales post at the end. I apologize, everyone. Mini sales pitch before we continue with the questions. Don't forget to download your free Chinese social media platforms guide at this link here. I put it in the chat earlier. I'm going to put it in the chat again, just because this is, I think, really helpful for everyone. Please do check that out. So don't forget to join the free Chinese social media platforms email list, and you get that free guide while signing up. And just a reminder, if you're interested in some of the platforms we talked about today, particularly WeChat and Xiaohongshu, in the Facebook group, we've got upcoming bootcamp on WeChat. We had something last month on Xiaohongshu, and there'll be one coming up maybe in a couple of months' time. But if you don't want to wait for the bootcamp, or you want loads more detail and sort of step-by-step guidance that you can follow at your own pace, and lots of really like niche insider information that's not going to be in the free bootcamp, please do check out the social media marketing courses. I'll again put a link in the chat, and you get 50% off if you use the code Facebook. So it comes like 10 quid, which is about not even that, $13 US. So do check those out if you're interested in learning about those. So I hope this is helpful for everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If anyone's got any more, I'm going to call it in for questions actually. If anyone's got any burning questions, feel free to message in the Facebook group. I think most people are probably in the Facebook group, to be honest. But if you're not, please do join the Facebook group. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found this helpful. Join the Facebook group. Make sure you've downloaded your free PDF guide, all those things that I shared earlier in the webinar. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever it is for you. I'm going to go to bed because it's like on midnight. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. And yeah, happy teaching. Yeah, thank you. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.